You've heard it before. Country X has defaulted on its debt. The nation is bankrupt. But what does that actually mean? A government isn't a person. It can't go to court, file for bankruptcy, and walk away debt-free. In 2022, Sri Lanka literally ran out of usable money. In 2024, Argentina defaulted on its debt for the 10th time in its history. Pakistan, Lebanon, Ghana, Venezuela, the list keeps on growing. So, how does a country go bankrupt? What happens to its economy, its people, and the government? And what does it take to come back from that? Let's break it down. Visually, simply, case by case. This is what actually happens when a country runs out of money. Let's clear up a misconception. When we say a country is in debt, we're not talking about something shady or illegal. Almost every country borrows money, even the wealthy ones, and they do it through something called sovereign debt. Countries usually owe money to foreign governments, institutions like the IMF or World Bank, private banks and bondholders, their own citizens through domestic bonds. For example, Argentina owes billions to the IMF. Sri Lanka owes money to China, India, and international bondholders. So, why borrow? Governments need cash to fund development, cover trade deficits, or stabilize their currency. But if that borrowing does not grow the economy, or if it's wasted, things spiral. Here's the tipping point. When a country defaults, it simply means it can't pay its debt on time. Sometimes it misses an interest payment. Other times it just says, we can't pay you, full stop. A real example is Sri Lanka in 2022. Foreign reserves dropped to $50 million, missed an $87 million payment. First default in its post-independence history. The consequences of a default: credit rating collapses, foreign investment freezes, currency tanks, imports get unaffordable, inflation skyrockets. Once a country defaults, it enters economic survival mode. Here's what usually happens, step by step. Number 1, currency collapse. The national currency loses value. This makes imports extremely expensive, especially fuel and food. Example, Argentina 2023. Peso lost over 50% of its value. Inflation passed 200%. People used US dollars or turned to black markets. Number 2, shortages and protests. Fuel shortages leads to power cuts. Food imports dry up. People lose faith in the government. Again, Sri Lanka in 2022 had 13-hour daily power cuts. Public transit nearly stopped. Protests ended with the president fleeing. Number 3, IMF bailout with conditions. The country turns to the IMF, the lender of last resort. But the IMF doesn't give out free money. It demands reforms in exchange. Typical IMF conditions: cut public spending, raise taxes, float the currency, sell state assets. Critics say these austerity measures often hurt the poorest, even while stabilizing the economy short term. Number 4, debt restructuring. The country negotiates with creditors. This might mean delayed payments, smaller repayments, aka haircuts. bond swaps. It's financial diplomacy, and it can take years. Let's look at the mentioned examples in regards to the timeline of bankruptcy and the key takeaways. Starting with Sri Lanka. Its timeline of collapse is as follows. 2010s, heavy borrowing for Chinese-funded infrastructure. 2019, president slashes taxes leading to government losing revenue. 2020, COVID-19 crushes tourism. 2022, only $50 million in usable reserves left. And more specifically, May 2022, Sri Lanka officially defaults on $51 billion in external debt. And its key takeaways: poor fiscal management, over-reliance on tourism and debt, no buffer when shocks hit. The next country we looked at was Argentina. Let's look at them. Argentina had its 10th default in 2024. Decades of inflation and political instability, printed money to pay off old debt, peso collapsed again, IMF bailout, but deep public frustration. And its key takeaways is inflation is corrosive, printing money equals short-term gain but long-term pain, structural reforms are essential. And there are some other countries that we can look at as well. Lebanon. Banks froze deposits. Currency lost 98% of its value. Pakistan. Heavy import dependence plus constant IMF bailouts. Ghana. Debt payments exceeded health and education budgets. Venezuela. Oil collapse plus dictatorship led to hyperinflation. Can a country ever recover though? Yes, of course it can, but recovery takes time and trust. Successful recoveries include Iceland in 2008, protected its citizens, restructured banks, and had a full recovery by 2015. Greece in the 2010s. After austerity and EU bailouts, the economy stabilized. Now, this is how you recover. Number 1, build back trust with citizens and lenders. Number 2, diversify exports. Number 3, improve tax collection. Number 4, avoid political instability. So, what is the core lesson here? A default is a signal, not a death sentence. But fixing broken finances is easier than fixing broken institutions. So, what really happens when a country goes bankrupt? It loses trust, and rebuilding that trust from investors, institutions, and its own people is the real challenge. It's never just about money. It's about stability, it's about leadership, and it's about choices. If you found this breakdown useful, check out our deep dives on how footballers are valued, or how the 2020s killed the property ladder. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.